Hey guys, what's up? Happy Tuesday. It is good to be back again with you today. My name is Kyle Kurzhal. I like to describe myself as your go-to guy for AI, automation, basically the things that you need to be able to get back your time and grow your business, grow your investing, whatever it is that you're up to. And this space is a welcome place for people who are brand new to automation and AI, or people who've been around a while. It's open to folks who are looking to learn along with me. My background is working as a software engineer for the last 11 years now and keeping up with AI as it has developed over the last decade. So I am here to share some of my perspective as an automation guy with you guys and also learn along with you because the AI space is changing so rapidly. I have to also stay on top of all these different tools and options that we have at our disposal now. So it is an exciting time to be alive. I am very happy to be here with you this evening. I think that's good enough for the general intro here. One other thing I want to kind of mention as we're getting started, there's a few things actually. First, if you have questions, like I said before, this is the time for you to come and ask questions. So if you do have questions, I want you to drop those down in the chat on YouTube or Facebook, wherever it is that you're watching this. I'm watching the chat throughout this to see what comments or questions you guys have that come in. I try to pause in between like articles or whatever it is I'm doing. There is also another option if for some reason you have a super lengthy question and you want to be able to write all of it out without having to write multiple chat messages. You can do that. Let me make sure I grab the link here. We've got it currently on YouTube, but I'm going to also, on Facebook, but I'm going to also go ahead and share this now on YouTube. So that link there in the chat is going to let you be able to submit longer questions, also get some other feedback from you. Now, one other thing that I'm also very excited about is that we are doing a giveaway. So typically I do this giveaway at the end. So sometimes we go a little longer. Sometimes we go more to like 7:30. But I usually try to hit about 7 o'clock for this giveaway. And this is a giveaway of Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Money Models. I'm giving away up to 9 copies left. There you go. You can see all the fingers there. So I have 9 copies left to give away during these live streams. Now, if you want a copy of this book, it is physical. It is a physical copy. You sign up for the entry here. I'm going to go ahead and post this in the chat on YouTube and Facebook as well. You can only enter this giveaway during this live stream. I don't look at submissions that are submitted after the live stream. Only if you're here during the live stream can you actually submit an entry. The book cost is covered for you. So if you win, you get that $35 covered for you. And all you have to do is pay the shipping. You're not paying it to me. You're just paying it to the shipping company. And Alex's company ships that right out to you. So that book is fantastic if you want to be able to think through different methods of how to stack value inside of your business and how to make your business cash flow better. So I would highly recommend it. It's a free book, so why not? All right. So let's kind of get into things for the evening. We got a couple news articles that we're going to get into. I try to focus these around like topics that I think are pertinent for business owners, for investors, and also employees. So that's what the news section is kind of about. And then the next thing we typically do is we usually focus in on at least 1 or 2 tools. Something that, maybe I'm interested in learning, or maybe something I'm interested in refreshing on. Let me unplug this light because it's flashing and that's going to get really annoying. So tonight we're going to be looking at a tool. I've looked at this briefly in the past called Agent Zero. So I've seen some really neat stuff going around about it for a while now. So I want to kind of get my hands on with it and see learn a little bit more about this, understand like what are the limits here. Could I just do everything in it with like a Claude code or something? Like, do I really need this thing? What is it actually good for? And maybe you're wondering like, why aren't you doing like the Maltbot or the OpenClaw or whatever it is called now? I think it's OpenClaw now. Honestly, I don't know if I need it or not. Maybe I need to play around a little bit with it. There were a lot of security issues with it apparently. So that really wasn't my go-to. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe we'll have some time to look at the OpenClaw this evening as well. At the end of the day, my goal with these tools is to try to evaluate what is actually useful and to limit how many tools I'm using day to day. I mean, if I can get a really good general purpose tool and then, just kind of tweak it to certain things that I need it to do, I prefer to do that, honestly. So I just think it's more versatile. I don't have to learn a bunch of new things. So that's kind of where I land on things. So we'll see. We'll check out Agent Zero tonight. Maybe we'll look at OpenClaw. I don't know. We'll see. All right. I think that's enough jabbering. Let's go ahead and get into today's news articles. Let's take a look here at this first one. This was announced earlier, I guess last week, by Google. Gemini 3 Deep Think, Advanced Science, Research, and Engineering. So they have released this very specialized reasoning model. It's now updated to solve modern science, research, engineering challenges, which is pretty cool. They're releasing a major upgrade to their Deep Think, built to push the frontier. They've updated Gemini 3 Deep Think in close partnership with scientists, researchers to tackle tough research problems. Okay. Interesting. Express interest in early access here. Okay, so you have to be like an AI Ultra subscriber for this. Okay, so early access as well for researchers, engineers, so on and so forth. So they've got some people talking about how they're using it. Mathematician. They've got somebody using it for fabrication of complex crystal growth. Okay, R&D and platforms, device division. Okay, to design physical components. Interesting. So they've got some. The focus here is on things that require mathematical and algorithmic rigor. So, okay. Just kind of looking at some of these benchmarks. Oh, wow. So the reasoning and knowledge. This here is the Claude. It's a little hard to see, though. Let me see if I can zoom in for you guys. I don't know if that makes it really much better for you, unfortunately. So this bar here is Claude Opus 4.6. It sits at 68.8%. They are scoring at 84.6 on this reasoning and knowledge benchmark. Here's the Opus 3 again. This light blue one was the Gemini 3 Pro preview. So they're beating themselves out. This one on the right is GPT 5.2. So Claude Opus 4.6 is at 40%. This is at 48, almost 50% for humanities last exam. This was with no tools. Very interesting that that's with no tools. So that's for academic reasoning. They're beating out Opus 4.6 and ChatGPT at just about a couple percentage points. Claude is a little behind on multimodal understanding and reasoning. So that's going to be like vision, like pictures, being able to understand things from pictures, being able to understand, audio. Like multimodal just means multiple forms. GPT 5.2 apparently is up there as well, and Claude is a little behind on the curve here. So that's cool. They're leading the pack there. And then coding and algorithms, they are way up there. Very interesting. So they've got a bunch more here kind of outlined. Let's see. How are they doing? Physics. Okay. Code forces. Math Olympiad. Okay. Search plus code execution, 53%. Yeah, so Opus is relatively similar when you have search and code execution. So without code execution, though, they're doing better. They're still beating out GPT 5.2. Okay, pretty neat. So they've got some stuff here that talks about like real world engineering. Okay, neat. So that's a pretty cool little improvement from Google. Let's move on to our next article. I don't see anything in the chat from you guys, so I'm just going to move forward. If you got questions about anything related to AI or automation, drop those in the chat. It doesn't have to be related to the news or the tools that we are focused on. So let's move forward here. All right, so as of today, actually, we have an announcement here of Claude Sonnet 4.6. So we already had Opus 4.6. So now they have this Sonnet model 4.6. They say it is their most capable Sonnet model yet, full upgrade of the model's skills across coding, computer use, long context reasoning, agent planning, knowledge work, and design. It features a 1 million token context window in beta. That is incredible. They've been limited for a while. I forget it. I want to say they were 200,000-ish. Let's see here. What is the context window size for Claude Sonnet 4.5? So 200,000 tokens previously for Claude Sonnet. Let's say Opus 4.6. 200,000 for Opus. Yeah. Expanded 1 million is now available. Okay. Interesting. So looks like that they're starting to shift up to that 1 million context window. That just means more data can fit in your context. Now the question is going to be, it sounds great, but the question is always going to be, okay, if we have more context, how does it perform on that larger context? Is it still going to be as good as it was before, or are we going to run into more problems? So for those on our free and pro plans, 4.6 is now the default model. So that includes Claude Cowork. Pricing remains the same as 4.5. Okay. Improved coding skills for more users, more consistency, instruction following. Let's see here. Have made developers prefer. Let's see. Anything else? They even prefer it to smartest model from November 2025, Opus 4.5. Okay. Performance that would have previously required reaching for Opus class model, including real-world economically valuable office tasks, is now available with Sonnet 4.6. That's really big, especially if you really are kind of looking for like a AI assistant that's kind of running on your computer. Running on your computer. You'll be able to take advantage of the Claude Cowork tool, and it looks like you can now use this model for it. So that's fantastic. It has a major improvement in computer use skills, and that's what you want with those kinds of if you're looking for an assistant to actually do real world things. Okay, we've run safety evaluations. Overall showed to be safe or safer than the current models. Broadly, it's warm, honest, pro-social, sometimes funny. Okay. No signs of major concerns for high-stake forms of misalignment. That's great. Okay, so let's get into this section here on computer use. Almost every organization has software it can't easily automate, specialized systems and tools built for, okay. Yep. Let's see here. First to introduce the general purpose computer using model, still experimental. Okay. Let's see here. Running on a simulated computer, no special APIs or purpose-built connectors. Model sees the computer and interacts with it. Clicking a virtual mouse, typing on a virtual keyboard. Okay, they've made steady gains on OS World. I guess that's the name of the benchmark. Let's see here. Human level capability and tasks, navigating complex spreadsheet, filling out a multi-step web form. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So this is kind of the progress here. So their last model, Sonnet 4.5, was at a 60% score of this OS World verified scores. So 61.4%. Now it's at 72.5%. So over a 10% gain in computer use tasks. So that's cool. Computer use poses risks, though. Malicious actors can attempt to hijack the model by hiding instructions on websites. In what's known as prompt injection attack, we've been working to improve our model's resistance to prompt injections. It is a major improvement compared to its predecessor and performs similarly to Opus 4.6. You can learn more how to mitigate those injection attacks. And then they've got a little video here. Let's kind of watch this real quick together. Let me pause our music here. Let's pause it. And let's watch this thing together. Okay, that's funny. That was cute. So, here, let's play our music again. All right, so let's see here. Let's cancel out of this. All right. So beyond computer use, Claude 4.6 has improved on benchmarks across the board. It approaches Opus level intelligence at a price point that makes it more practical. You can find a full discussion. Okay, so they got all their stuff here, and you can kind of go in here and take a look at it. It looks like their Opus 4.6 is pretty much on top of things. Yeah, it does a little better at the financial analysis, which is kind of interesting. Just a tad bit better on the office tasks, but yeah, very interesting. Okay, let's see what else they have to say about this. Preferred it in Claude Code 70% of the time. reported more effectively read the context before modifying code in Claude when you're using Claude code. Okay, let's see. It's enough to hold. Okay, that million context window is enough to hold entire code bases, lengthy contracts, dozens of research papers, and a single request. It reasons effectively across all that context. Okay, that is the key that I was looking for. So they're saying that it's better at reasoning across that large. It's pretty good at reasoning across that million context window, which is really, really fantastic. Okay, so we saw this clearly in the vending bench evaluation. Okay, simulated business over. So it tests how well a model can run a simulated business over time. Includes an element of competition with different AI models facing off to see who can make the biggest profits. Invested heavily in capacity for the first 10 simulated months, spending significantly more than his competitors. Pivoted sharply. Okay, so let's see. For 365 days in simulation, the balance went up much higher than 4.5. Okay, broad improvements with front-end code, financial analysis standing out. Okay. Visual outputs from it are more polished, better layouts, animations, design sensibility. So it's going to be really good for design, it looks like. Let's see, what else do they say? Okay. Context, compassion, and beta automatically summarizes older context. Okay, RPI, web search fetch tools now automatically write and execute code to filter and process search results, keeping only relevant content in context. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so they've got a lot more tools that are available through their API. That's really nice. Strong performance at any thinking effort. Opus 4.6 remains the strongest for tasks that demand deepest reasoning, such as code-based refactoring, coordinating multiple agents in a workflow. Problems where getting it just right is paramount. Okay. Claude and Excel users are add-in, now supports MCP connectors. Okay. Okay, you can ask Claude to pull in full context from outside your spreadsheet without ever leaving Excel. That's cool. Okay. How to use it. Basically, if you've got their software, you can use it. All right, that's pretty cool. So that is pretty outstanding. Well done to the Anthropic team for their release of Sonnet 4.6. This is going to be a much, if you're trying to figure out which model to use, basically Claude Sonnet 4.6 is probably going to be a great model to use when you want speedy results. Things that don't require super, super deep thinking. Otherwise, if you need some deeper thinking, then you could use Opus 4.6. They're going to be it seems like they're going to be pretty similar in performance for the most part. Opus 4.6 still stands out on top, but this is like reaching up to close to Opus 4.6 levels and sometimes beating out in certain areas. So overall, pretty awesome. Okay, let's take a quick look here at our comments in the chat or any questions that folks have. I'm not seeing anything over here from you guys. If you guys have questions about anything related to automation, AI, anything like that, then you should definitely drop those in the chat so that way I know how to respond. They don't have to always be related to the articles. The articles and the tools that we are covering are really just a way for us to kind of keep up to date with things. So if you do have questions that are fresh on your mind, or you saw something in the article that was very intriguing to you, just drop that in the chat and then I'll respond. Okay, let's get back to it, you guys. We got a couple more articles here. I think we'll move a little more quickly through some of these. So let's take a look here. So Anthropic announced that they are covering electricity price increases from their data centers. So this is to address a lot of the concerns in the news lately, where, you know, people are saying, hey, you know, my electricity prices are going up, and I don't want to have to pay these higher prices just because a data center moved in nearby. This is neat. It kind of shows that they are on top of really thinking about this and trying to respond to things to actually, like, how do I put this? Not just be a jerk, right? Like, they're not just going to enrich themselves at your expense. That's the kind of feeling I get. I appreciate that they are actively thinking about these things and that they are addressing these things. It's kind of funny because they also did a very similar thing with, I think they even released like an ad in the Super Bowl. If it wasn't in the Super Bowl, it was some kind of ad. I'm pretty sure it was the Super Bowl where basically they made fun of, OpenAI adding ads to ChatGPT, and they even made like a whole article about this thing, about how they are not going to be putting ads into their tool and so on and so forth. I think for a lot of people that, you know, that kind of positioning and then stuff like this will probably win over a lot more people. That said, you know, there's the business side of it. How are they going to make money? Things like that. There's some things there that obviously they got to make sure they're on top of. But I appreciate their perspective on things. I do feel like they are really oriented towards good user experience overall, and I don't know. I just get this. I just have this sense about Anthropic that makes me want to stick with them. And I mean, because they're doing such good work around their models, they're kind of pushing the frontier on agentic AI and have been doing it really. Like, they were kind of some of the first movers for some of these things that we're really using. So they're really innovative. I really like what they're doing. So Anthropic, keep on killing it. Let's move on to our next article here from OpenAI. They say introducing lockdown mode and elevated risk labels in ChatGPT. As AI systems take on more complex tasks, especially involving web and connected apps, security stakes change. Emerging risks become especially important. Prompt injection. So in these attacks, a third-party attempts to mislead a conversational AI system to follow malicious instructions or reveal sensitive information. They are introducing 2 protections to help users and organizations mitigate these attacks with clear visibility into risk and stronger controls. So they have a lockdown mode, advanced optional security setting for higher risk users, and an elevated risk label for certain capabilities in ChatGPT, Atlas, and Codex. So this is going to be super important, actually. If you are a business owner or a leader in your organization, you need to make sure that you think about these attack vectors going forward, just like you would for like email, right? Like, that's a thing, like how to train your employees to not click on malicious emails. And it's going to be a very similar thing here for training your employees. You know, like, typically you might even train your employees not to click on suspicious links or something like that, or go to suspicious websites. And now that these things kind of go out and get data from multiple places, you know, you might not always have control over all the places it's going to. So you need to have some form of risk mitigation in place here for these cyber attacks. It's an optional lockdown mode is an optional advanced security setting designed for a small set of highly secure, conscious users, such as executives or security teams at prominent organizations who require increased protection against advanced threats. Not necessary for most users. Okay, that's cool. So they just kind of explain how this works with lockdown mode, private web cache. Okay. Business plans already provide enterprise grade data security. Builds on those protections. Okay. Very interesting. All right. Very interesting. Very nice. All right. Let me take a look at our chat here. I'm not seeing anything from you guys. All right. Let's move on to our next article. Also, what time is it? We're only at 6:30. All right. Introducing GPT 5.3 Codex Spark, ultra-fast model for real-time coding in Codex. Did I cover this? I feel like I covered this already. No, this is new. I did not cover this last week. I felt like I had because they did a thing. Oh, it was this Codex app that I covered because I was trying to understand, what was it that, let's see here. Yeah, it was this Codex app that we covered. I was curious about like if this was going to be good for most people or if this was really a software engineering type tool. It's definitely a software engineering type tool. So they're introducing 5.3 Codex Spark, ultra-fast model for real-time coding in Codex. Okay, they're releasing a research preview of this model. It's a smaller version of 5.3 Codex. First model designed for real-time coding. Marks first milestone in partnership with Cerebras. Cerebras, so this is kind of interesting. This company is essentially one that's designing chips that are specialized for serving these models. So when it comes to these AI models, you got really kind of two parts to this whole thing. One part is the training, so where you actually have to like define the model, like the architecture. You have to put it on a machine. You have to run all of your training data through it. You have to test it, all that stuff to kind of figure out, hey, is this going to actually perform in the way I want it to perform? And then once you've trained it, then you have like the inference time. And that's where you take that trained model, you put it on a server, and then you take people's requests for output. Like, hey, I want you to go, generate me a blog post or whatever it is. You feed that into the model, that request into the model, it gives you some output, and then you serve it through your app. So this partnership with Cerebras is interesting because Cerebras is basically making chips that are designed for the inference piece of this process. So it's not going to help with the training. It's going to help with the serving of the stuff. Basically, it's going to make it faster and ideally cheaper in the long run for them to be able to service more people. So that's what this partnership is about. Now, they announced that in January. So this is kind of the first milestone in their partnership. Codex Spark is optimized to feel near instant when served on ultra low latency hardware, delivering more than 1,000 tokens per second. Whoo, boy, that is fast. That is fast. While remaining highly capable of real world coding tasks. Okay. They're sharing it with, so if you're a pro user, you're paying $20 a month, then you can start using that while they work to ramp up their data center capacity, harden the end-to-end user experience. Let's see here. Okay. Codex Spark is their first model designed for working with Codex in real time, making targeted edits, reshaping logic, refining interfaces, seeing results immediately. Man, that's pretty big. Okay, with it, the Codex now supports long-running, ambitious tasks while getting work done in a moment. That's going to be great. It has a limited context window, text only, but I mean, you know, it's gonna improve over time. And this is really great. This is fantastic if you want to get really fast feedback. That feedback loop, you want to decrease how much time it takes for that feedback loop because you can get a lot more done a lot faster. Okay, collaborate with the model in real time, interrupting, redirecting it as it works. Rapidly iterate near instant responses. Okay, it's tuned for speed, keeps default working style lightweight, makes minimal targeted edits, doesn't automatically run tests unless you ask it to. Okay, interesting. And so they kind of show the demo here, like the Codex Spark. Like, how long would it take for you to write a snake game? Build a simple HTML snake game. And within about 10 seconds, it's done and the snake game is ready to play versus the GPT 5.3 Codex. Wow. Okay, highly capable, small model, optimized for fast inference. Let's see here. So it's over here, kind of at this 51.5%. Let's see, task duration in minutes. So the longer it goes, typically. So you can see that, you know, at 2 minutes, roughly, it is at 51.5% versus the Codex. The Codex model is 51.1% at an extra minute. So it's much, much, much faster. And I would be kind of interested to know, man, it's like an X high reasoning effort. Reasoning effort is low here. Okay, I see. And then if you do like if you compare the high reasoning effort, it goes much longer on Codex. So man, that's really great. And over time, that's probably going to improve greatly. Okay, terminal bench. Okay. Latency improvements for all models. Okay, as we trained it, it became apparent that model speed was just part of the equation. Needed to reduce latency across full requests. Okay, pipeline implemented end-to-end latency improvements. That's going to help all the models under the hood. We streamlined how a response stream. Okay, so all their models are going to start to get a little faster end-to-end. Not the model itself, but the way the data is received and then processed and then sent back. So that's going to be pretty cool. So this new model is running on this specialized chip. Okay, low latency path. Okay, they still need GPUs for training. Okay, what's next? First step towards Codex 2 complementary modes, longer horizon reasoning and execution, real-time collaboration. So you'll be able to trade off something that's longer reasoned versus real-time collaboration. Over time, the modes will blend. Okay, it'll keep you in a tight interactive loop while delegating longer running to sub-agents in the background, fanning out tasks and many models in parallel. Cool. All right. Love it. OpenAI, this is awesome. I like what you're doing here with this stuff. All right, we got a comment here in the chat. Let's see here. Let me make sure I can actually. Why is YouTube giving me such trouble here? Seeing your Venka, your chat is cut off for me. Hold on a second. Let me slide that over to see if I can adjust that some. There we go. Okay, now I can see it. Can you give your view on Chinese AI models? Which one have you tried? Any favorite model that you are following? This is a good question. So, first of all, I think there's a bit of a difference between the model itself and the service. So, the reason I call that out is because the model itself can be run if it's an open model, for example, like these DeepSeek models, things like that. Those are typically open. You can take them and then you can run them on whatever machine you want. And so that is the model piece. The other piece is the service piece, which is like the service that actually runs the model on your behalf typically. Most people are not as technical, and so they're not going to run their own model, and they're going to rely heavily on whatever service that model is being served from. So like, for example, Anthropic has a service that they run on top of their model. Whenever you use like Claude, or you use Claude Code or whatever, right? OpenAI is similar. They have their ChatGPT interface, and then that's kind of running on top of their underlying model. So I distinguish that because I haven't done a ton of playing yet with the Chinese models. Partly because I just haven't had a need for it yet. However, I will probably start to look at some of these models for running them on my computer, because I have a machine that's actually powerful enough to do that. And if I need something that, maybe I don't have an interconnect, maybe I'm like traveling on a plane or something like that, and I need it to be able, I need an AI to do some stuff for me. Being able to run those models on my computer is going to be really handy. So at some point I'll probably play with them. I'll probably look at like the DeepSeek model. I'll probably look at some other models like maybe a GLM model or something like that. It's been a bit since I last kind of looked at all of them. I have just recently started to look back into them. Now, as far as the service is concerned, I would say, I'm just going to avoid it personally. And the reason I'm avoiding it is because if you know anything about the position of Chinese companies and the relationship to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, that is the government, you will find very quickly that they do not have your best interest at heart. And they will definitely utilize your data in any way that they see fit. Take full advantage of it. Your data is readily available from any company, any business within China to the CCP. And so I avoid those services, and I will continue to avoid those services for that reason. So I will probably not be using the service layer, but I may be using the models at some point because I know I can get them from places like Hugging Face. It's a website that has the models hosted typically, things like that. So that's my position on it. Venka, I hope that answers your question. It might be good at some point to sit down and kind of compare some of these models that could be run locally. Maybe when I actually go to do that, I'll actually do a video around it and kind of show off like some of the things that maybe I would typically do. As far as what I use like in my day-to-day, I actually have access to, I pay for access to Claude, I pay for access to Google's models, and I pay for access to OpenAI as well. So I have access to all the models. I just tend to find that I'm reaching for Claude most of the time. And usually it's typically been just because they've kind of pushed I do a lot of coding. And so they've kind of pushed the frontier on the coding front. OpenAI is kind of close behind on that. And I mean, now Google is too, like with that DeepThink model that we kind of looked at that was one of the first articles we looked at this evening. I mean, they're all kind of neck and neck. And so I think some of it just comes down to like, at some point, these things get so good, they can kind of converge. And you get to the point where you're just like, you know what, whatever ecosystem you're most comfortable with is probably what you should use. And you're probably going to get similar types of results across some of these things. Now, if we're talking about some of these things like this Codex Spark that we were just looking at, like that's a thing that, Anthropic doesn't have. And so it just takes time to kind of see the differences emerge. Google seems to have the best scores as far as the multimodal reasoning, so if you needed to feed it images or stuff like that, maybe you'd use theirs, but OpenAI is pretty darn good too. So, right now I'm just primarily using Claude. I feel like they have done a really good job on the coding and agentic front. They've been, they were the first to push, like they were the ones who created the idea of the MCP tools. They also have pushed the idea of using skills, and those are important as we go forward to use like agentic coding and doing agentic tasks, like actually going and doing stuff in the browser on your behalf. So I guess that's kind of why I lean towards them, but doesn't mean that some of these others aren't necessarily good either. It's just I know that they have trained their models to be able to use tools well on top of the coding. So that's why I typically use them for most of my stuff. So Vic, I hope that answered your question. And if you got any more questions, you got any more comments, drop them there in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. All right, y'all, let's move on to our next article here. So let's take a quick look at this. This is another one from OpenAI. Beyond rate limits, scaling access to Codex and Sora. Okay, past year, Codex and Sora have been in rapid adoption. Sora is the tool that helps generate like AI video from OpenAI. Okay, quickly pushing beyond what they originally expected. Users dive in, find real value, then hit rate limits. They built a real-time access engine that counts usage. Okay, fuses limits, real-time usage tracking, credit balances, and a single access model. Okay. So this is just kind of talking about how they're like now calculating rate limits and things like that. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go learn more about that. I don't think we need to dig into that much further. All right, last article for the evening here. OpenAI harness engineering leveraging Codex in an agent-first world. Over the past 5 months, their team has been running an experiment, building and shipping internal beta of a software product with 0 lines of manually written code. Very interesting. The product has internal daily users and external alpha testers. It ships, deploys, breaks, gets fixed. What's different is that every line of code, application logic tests, CI configuration, has been written by Codex. They estimate this is about 1/10 the time it would normally have been taken to write it by hand. I believe it. Human steer agents execute. We intentionally chose this constraint so we'd build what was necessary to increase velocity. Let's see. They started with an empty Git repository, redefining the role of the engineer, introduced several kinds of engineering work focused on system scaffolding and leverage. Early progress was slower than expected, not because it was incapable, but because the environment was underspecified. The agent lacked tools, abstractions, and internal structure required to make progress toward high-level goals. Yeah, and this is kind of what I found too. I'm currently building out a system for the company that I'm the CTO of at the moment, and it was kind of slow to get started because like you have to kind of define the structure. You have to still be the architect. You have to kind of oversee these things, and then as it's initially coding, you still, in their case, sounds like they weren't really doing much of anything except kind of steering it. I do a bit more in what I'm doing just because I want to make sure the system is actually coded well. So I do the reviews and stuff like that, and kind of give it direction and have it basically write the code for the most part. And then I kind of go in and tweak, ask it to do additional things. So the agent-like tools, okay. In practice, this meant working depth first, breaking down larger goals into smaller building blocks, design, code, review, test, etc., prompting the agent to construct those blocks, using them to unlock more complex tasks. When something failed, the fix was never try harder. Only way to make progress was to get codecs to do the work. Human engineers always stepped into the task and asked, what capability is missing? How do we make it both legible and enforceable for the agent? Okay, let's see here. So I just kind of want to see. I think this is going to be a super interesting article to dig into in depth for a technical person. Okay, they made repository knowledge the system of record, which makes sense. So basically your folder that has all your code, they kind of made that their where the knowledge is, which makes sense. I did kind of a similar thing. It made a lot of sense to do it. Agent legibility is the goal. Okay, it's entirely agent generated, optimized for codex's legibility. So its ability to read code. Okay, enforcing architecture and taste. Documentation alone doesn't keep it. Okay, code base is coherent. Not micromanaging, wheelet. Okay, without undermining the foundation. Okay, we require codecs to parse data shapes at the boundary, but not prescriptive on how it happens. Okay, interesting. Let's see what else is kind of helpful, interesting here. Throughout the changes, merge philosophy. Okay. I kind of want to just get to... Let's kind of get to our last summary here on this, because this is a pretty... I feel like this is fairly technical. This would be worth a read just to understand these systems, but probably not as useful to most business owners. The strategy has worked well up through internal launch and adoption at OpenAI, building a real product for real users, helped anchor their investments in reality and guide us toward long-term maintainability. They don't know yet how architectural coherence evolves over years in a fully agentic. Yep. So basically, how does your architecture, how is that kind of sustained and managed over time? Still learning where human judgment adds the most leverage, how to encode that judgment so that it compounds. Also, as the models improve, they don't know how things will change. Yep. Building software still demands discipline. Discipline shows up in more than in the scaffolding rather than the code. The tooling, abstractions, and feedback loops that keep the code base coherent are increasingly important. This is kind of what I have also observed. Let's see here. Difficult challenges now center in designing environments, feedback loops, control systems that help them accomplish their goal, maintain complex, reliable software at scale. Okay, so that's interesting. Basically, how do they build systems around their systems that kind of like, how do they build systems? How do they build systems and processes that will help facilitate the agents doing what they're supposed to do and not going off the rails and going out of control? And this is not just a thing about AI. This is actually a thing just about software engineering. Software engineering is operational. So just like any kind of operations in business, you need processes, you need systems, things like that. So that way everybody is aligned. You're following the principles, you're doing things that you're supposed to do. So that all totally makes sense. very interesting that they're doing that internally. I think that's going to inform a lot of, I'm glad they're doing that actually internally, because what that means is that it's going to help them figure out, okay, practically, how would other people use our tools, like our models and our tool ecosystem, to be able to accomplish real world tasks like write software and things like that. So that's going to be really cool. It'll be neat to see what they learn from that whole process. All right, guys, that is going to be it as far as our news articles. And we're really hitting about 7 o'clock here. So let's go ahead and do our giveaway. So I'm going to do this in 2 minutes. If you want to win a copy of Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Money Models, you better go use that QR code or the link in the chat right now, because in about 1 to 2 minutes, I'm going to go look in the system and see who has submitted an entry. I'm giving away up to 9 more copies. And once they're gone, they're gone. You get a copy of the book paid for. You still have to pay for shipping, but it's a free book. Alex Hormozi stuff is great. If you want a cash flowing business, you definitely want to learn about different types of money models that you can use to structure in your business and provide more values for your customers. So go ahead and do that. Once that 7 o'clock hits, in less than a minute here, I'm going to go check out the system. Let me go ahead and pull that up. We're going to do our giveaway, and then we're going to play with our tool for the evening and move forward. All right. We're getting close here. I think also, as far as the tool is concerned, we're probably just going to hit Agent Zero. We're probably not going to hit OpenClaw tonight. I just feel like that's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot to deal with. Let me adjust my lighting a little bit. Okay. All right, guys, it is 7 o'clock Central Time, so I'm going to take a look and see what submissions we have. All right, we have no submissions for the evening, so if you were in the middle of entering your submission, I am sorry, it is too late. You're going to have to come next week, because I only do this giveaway during the live stream. I don't take submissions after the live stream. So if you want to win a copy next week, come next week, submit during the live stream. Invite your friends, invite your family, whoever you think, your business partner, whoever you think might benefit from having a copy of the book, and come enter with the unique giveaway code next week. All right, you guys, let's get to our tool for the evening. We are going to look at Agent Zero. I've seen this in the past, actually. And I've seen some people talk about how, like, oh man, this thing is really cool. It does a lot of really cool stuff. So we're gonna see what it is actually capable of. I'm not really sure. I'm hoping I'm not gonna have to pay a bunch of API fees because I don't have my credit card on me. I guess we'll see. We're going to give it a shot and see what happens here. Hopefully I can just use my existing subscriptions. So let's check out this thing and see what this looks like. All right. I kind of want to hit this little video here first. Maybe it'll give us a quick sense of what this looks like. So give me a second here while I kind of pause the music. Okay, let me turn on our audio. Let's see what this...
This is Agent Zero. Not just a chatbot, not just a framework. It's an AI-driven operating...
Hold on, guys. Let me increase our... Let's force that. All right. Let's start that over.
This is Agent Zero. Not just a chatbot, not just a framework. It's an AI-driven operating system. It's an AI brain living inside a Linux body, serving you as a personal assistant. AO can execute any code on the fly, install and run almost any software, browse and search the web, and thanks to its advanced autonomous short and long-term memory management, infinitely extensible knowledge and tools library, and the ability to change its own behavior, AO continuously evolves and improves with every task, learning from experience and getting to know you better along the way. AO can also spawn new copies of itself for complex tasks requiring delegation. Did I mention it's completely free and open source? Need media files converted? Done. Documents organized, merged, exported as PDF? Done. Video downloaded? Transcription fetched? Thumbnail extracted? All done. Need to solve advanced math problems requiring AI reasoning and computer precision combined? Or maybe you want to do this, and this, or this? All you need to get started is a Docker runtime, like Docker Desktop, pull the official image, run it with a web port open, and you can jump right in. You might want to customize your model settings and provide API keys, or select one of the local models options. Let's see some of the examples in a bit more detail now. There are multiple ways to let AO work with your files. The easiest is to drag and drop them and tell it what to do, like convert and merge multiple images into a single PDF file. Here, AO makes its way around some errors and provides the file for me to download. All the information you need is on the official GitHub and web, links in the description. Agent Zero will always be here for you to use, free and open source. If you like AO, you can make it happy by subscribing and joining the community.
Okay, that's interesting. So, So, I'm trying to... Sorry, guys. Let me fix the music there. Okay. So, It sounds like this is kind of similar to what OpenClaw kind of pushes to do. This has been around a bit longer, I think. Because like I knew about this way before OpenClaw became a thing. Sounds like this is like you could almost think of this as like an assistant that evolves over time. Because I mean, similar to OpenClaw too. Like OpenClaw had some similar type of stuff. I wonder if anybody has compared. Let's do some Google searching here. Let's say, what is the difference between OpenClaw and Agent Zero? It sounds like, so with Agent Zero, this thing is running inside of a container, basically. And I know I'll try to not make this overly complex for you folks who maybe are a little less on the technical side, more on the business side. But like you can, there's this concept of containers, but basically you can create this little box, that virtual box that runs on your computer that, called a container, where you can like install software inside of it. You can run applications inside of it and so on and so forth. And then you can make that available on your to the rest of your computer, but it's all kind of closed off. And so you can limit what it has access to. So it can't go and access other parts of your computer that you don't want it to have access to. It's kind of a small seal environment. And so that's kind of what a container is. So these things run inside, this agent 0 runs inside of a container. And so the reason that's important is because what he's calling out here is that this thing can essentially install inside of the container. It can install all of the software it needs to be able to go do more complex things. Like if you need the agent to be able to like transcribe files, like from audio or generate audio or whatever it is, it can actually go and install various relevant packages, and then take advantage of those things. And then it can write, it can essentially write to its own system to update its knowledge over time. This sounds a lot like very similar things to what you might want OpenClaw to do. It was kind of designed. It sounds like this was designed from scratch to run inside of a container. You could run OpenClaw in a container as well, though. Like there's nothing stopping you from running it inside of a container. I imagine you can probably do similar things. Like people are, showing how you can connect like Telegram, like a messaging app called Telegram, to your OpenClaw, so you can just kind of chat with it that way. You could probably do a similar thing here with Agent 0. The question is going to be, how well was the architecture designed, and how well does it scale? Because here in this video, they were kind of calling out that you can increase the amount of knowledge you have or the amount of tools you have exponentially. So that's very, very interesting. Let's kind of see what other people have said about this. So it looks like somebody has made a video recently about this. I want to make sure I understand it. New Agent 0. Hold on. There's not really. Okay. Okay, let's see this. Let's see if we can watch this to video. Okay, I'm gonna pause our music here. This is where we're gonna learn together. We're gonna watch a video of somebody else talking. But that's okay. Like if it helps us learn, the point is to learn.
Get your domain name.
We gotta watch our little ad here.
Launch your business with.
All right.
Right. So why not let the agent execute its own code? So this was the original vision, and this was something very novel back then, but not so much today, right? You have a lot of agents that can control the terminal. Agent 0 still has the benefit that it's run in its own environment. It doesn't run in your environment. That's still the big difference. So it's safe, and it can.
Yes, a lot of people are like freaking out, like, deploying Cloud Code, OpenClaw on their computer, and then there's a big backlash that it's not secure, right? But Agent 0, like the architecture is fundamentally different, because you understood the dangers of having a powerful agent on your computer, and that like even if it's 99% reliable, all it takes is that one mistake where it deletes a important folder or whatever, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, of course. And so we do it the other way around. By default, the agent is isolated, and you choose what you want to share with the agent. Like you can drag and drop files, or you can map folder into the Docker and give it access to a single folder, or you can give it access to some external service like your Google Drive or something like that, right?
So basically Agent 0 is like the only agent right now that's safe to run locally. For other ones, you need to either deploy them on a VPS or have them on a specific folder with, approving every command. Agent 0, like we didn't have to approve any terminal command or any tool call, right?
That's extremely annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be sure that Agent 0 will not touch your host machine. Like, unless you share some folders from your host machine that you don't want to share with Agent 0, you can sleep well.
Yeah, so that's a huge benefit.
Okay, we talked about the vision and the direction. Okay, so back in the day, this was the vision, like having an agent that's completely dynamic and can do everything on the fly. Now we have a lot of agents that can do the same. We still have the complete package with sub-agents, and we have a ton of external connectivity like MCP A to A in both ways, right? You can communicate to Agent Zero as well as from Agent Zero using A to A and MCP, and Agent Zero has its own API endpoint, so you can, it's really a full package. It's very powerful, but still it's not fundamentally different from the other agents, right? It can be better in a lot of ways, but now you have a lot of agents that can execute code. So our vision has shifted from shipping a personal assistant that will help you with your day-to-day tasks. By the way, it still can do that perfectly well.
Okay.
But we are now focusing on I would call it the building potential, right? On extensibility, modularity, and I would like Agent Zero to become the Linux of AI agents, to be the platform that you can build upon. And we already did several major updates in this direction. For example, the core of Agent Zero, we should probably see it in the file.
But the Git projects, no? Is that?
Yeah, Git project as well. But if we take a look at the core of Agent Zero, for example, we have this extensibility system where most of the framework is placed into these folders in form of extensions, right? And these extensions are being called in various places inside the framework when the agent starts responding, when the user sends a message, when a code is being executed, etc. And so if you want to build on top of Agent Zero, you don't need to change the code that's already in the core. Instead, you can simply add your files into these folders and they will start working right away. You don't even need to restart Agent Zero, etc.
And Agent Zero can modify itself, so it can touch these
Yes.
folders. But you
Yes.
just drop it in the chat, you know.
Yeah, it comes with some risk, right? If it's modifying its own files on the fly, you always risk that it breaks something. So you might need to do a cleanup, but yeah, it can modify itself. The safest way is probably to let Agent Zero edits, yeah, backup of course, but edit subordinate agents. Because subordinate agents can also have any system extension. They can have their own tools, they can have their own config, their own prompts. So like if you want to try something new, you can probably tell Agent Zero to create a new subordinate agent, create new extensions for it, scripts, etc. Give it new skills, and this way it can easily update itself. But yeah, of course, a lot of people are modding Agent Zero on the fly.
And so the biggest one is yet to come, right? It's the plugin system.
Yeah, the plugin system will be released in the next version, and our goal is to move basically everything into plugins. So even the things that are currently inside the core of Agent Zero, like the code execution tool, this will become a plugin. So that if someone creates a better code execution tool, it can be replaced easily, right? You will plug one out and plug the other in. And the same goes for the memory system, right? There are so many options in terms of memory, like graph databases, hybrid databases. There's so much stuff, so that now the community will be able to develop a better memory system than we have, and users can replace the default one with the new one, or even we can easily replace it without doing a modification to the core and releasing a full version of Agent Zero. This way, people can update individual plugins.
Okay, so this is interesting. This feels very similar. Like all the stuff that I'm seeing here so far, maybe I need to actually go watch this entire video and kind of get a sense of where this is at, because looks like this was recorded, or I mean at least this video was released on the 16th of February, I think. So yesterday, I guess. Let's see. No, 14th of February. So Saturday. this feels really, really similar to Claude Code. Like, and you know, Anthropic is working on their co-work tool. So I think this is a bit more featureful. It's got more stuff kind of built into it out of the gate. It's cool that it's already containerized. It's running inside of a container. That means that you can have it do all sorts of stuff, and you don't have to worry about it like destroying your system, which is really nice. But like he said, there isn't anything here that's massively different from a lot of these other things. And the thing is, like, all these tools are starting to converge on each other, you know, like, you really, there's only going to be little differentiators, I think, in some of these things. Claude is strongly pushing like the sub agents and stuff like that. And you can basically do a lot of this stuff with Claude. I mean, I could spin up a container with all the things I want in Claude. Now, I'm a technical person, so maybe it'd be easier for you guys, if you're not as technical, to just have a single container that you go and run. You just follow some instructions to get started. Like, let's look and see kind of what this get started looks like. So if you get started, okay, that's cool. They got like an installation guide here for you, so you can see what it looks like on Windows. If you're running Mac OS, don't think most of you are probably running Linux. So let's say you were running Mac OS, you go download Docker Desktop, you install it, then you go and you get the image. So you go in there, you search for it, you click the pull button, then you run it, go to the images tab. So they've got instructions on exactly how to run this thing, and it's really not that difficult. Like, you guys could easily figure it out if you can just follow the instructions. This image is broken though. Whatever. This little thing is broken. So, at least for the Mac build. So that's pretty straightforward. Oh, okay. So there's more stuff down here. So that was just the installation. Then how to configure it. Okay. They use this tool called Open Router, which is basically just a service on that kind of sits as like the middleman that will send your requests to the model, to whatever model you choose. So you can actually use a bunch of models through this system. You have to pay for API usage. So that's interesting. That's the default provider. Okay, primary model. They recommend certain one for, okay, utility model or helper model. Smaller, faster model for internal tasks like memory organization, summarization. This would be potentially useful for, like, you could use like probably a local model for that if you had a powerful enough computer. Embedding model. Yeah, they show you how to run local models. Okay, customizing agent behavior. Let's see, data persistent and backups. Oh, interesting. So looks like this is designed to run as a web service. So you could run this thing on your laptop and then you could open up your phone. As long as you're on the same network, and you could communicate through that interface on your phone. It's not going to be as straightforward if you want to run it on a server and you want to access it from anywhere. But I bet you could probably connect this thing to like I bet you could probably somehow connect it to like Telegram or something, and then chat with it that way. There's probably guides on that. Okay, so that's the instructions on how to get started. Looks pretty straightforward. Open source. Okay. Operates independently. Can execute code. Yeah, they were doing this. They were doing this pretty early. Okay, so you can create projects. That's kind of nice. Document processing. Okay, web browser. Multi-agent teams. You can kind of see the tasks here. A1, A2, those are the, I guess, the names of the team members. Adaptive memory. Okay, so you can create these like folders of these memory fragments, essentially. Interesting. Seems pretty powerful. What's kind of nice about it, I think, is going to be that. Let's move me back up here. I think the thing that's going to be kind of nice about this is that it's going to really be able to, you could use all sorts of models, and you could have a single interface. So, you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about learning like Claude Code or Claude Cowork and OpenAI's solution and Google's solution. You don't have to worry about each one of those. You could learn a single interface, and then you could just choose the models that you want. And I think that's going to be the benefit of having like using one of these types of systems. It's cool that they have an interface built on top of this to do things like managing memory. That is really neat. Being able to like have projects. So that's pretty cool. I will say. I kind of want to go back through and watch the rest of this. Let's watch kind of the last minute or so of this to see what else he has to say here.
Without affecting the core or having to like deploy a new Docker container, reinstall everything.
So making Agent Zero as modular as possible.
Yes. And
so he's talking about the plugins.
So that you can clone other projects or plugins and enable, disable them, configure them independently on the core.
Because there are a lot of people who like hyper specialize their Agent Zero and like created it the best possible for marketing or the best possible for research, but right now it's only for them, right? So,
and unfortunately there are also people who like heavily modded something like 7 versions back,
I see.
and now they have this heavily customized outdated version, and if they wanted to update they would need to solve a lot of conflicts in the core. But with the plugin system, if you can develop everything as a plugin, then you can update the core and your plugins will still work, unless there is some fundamental shift somewhere, but that's like 95% less chance of conflicts, right? And another great thing for the modularity and isolation are projects.
This is the most advanced project feature. I think we can make that claim pretty easily. It's the most advanced project feature out of any AI tool or agent.
I think so. I haven't checked every AI agent out there, but yeah, honestly, I have to say I haven't seen anything more advanced than this, right? So you can I can select the color, and if I want, I can clone my project from a Git repository. And this Git repository can be completely unrelated to Agent Zero. It can be something like a Node.js project that I want to work on. And it will create the Agent Zero project just fine. It will clone everything from the remote repo. Or it can be an Agent Zero special project, which means it can contain descriptions, instructions, instruction files. It can contain configuration. It can even contain knowledge files and memories. It can contain pre-built files in the repo and even secrets if someone wants to share his secrets on GitHub. But these don't really need to be secrets, right? These can be like configuration variables. And you can pack it with specialized agents, with skills, with tools, extensions, configurations, basically everything. And the project has its own project structure where everything Agent Zero related is in Agent Zero project folder. So this can be pre-built by the creator of the project and you can clone it. The big benefit of projects is that once you create a project and you can activate it, it's activated per chat. So next to the chat, you can see the color of the project that you have activated. And now the agent is instructed that you are now working inside of this project. This is the working directory of the project. You will create all of the files inside this project. You will not leave any garbage outside of this folder. Also, whenever the agent spawns a new terminal, it is automatically spawned in the working directory of the project, right? And in the project, like I said, you can have specialized instructions or instruction files. So on my daily driver Agent Zero instance, I have many projects to help me with organizing the Agent Zero project, managing my accounting, creating development tickets for developers, and a lot of other stuff. So I have instructions there, scripts. I have project for doing simulations. So there are a lot of scripts for running simulations, and the agent is instructed to write inputs. We are now developing a benchmarking project, for example. So there will be a publicly available benchmark project for Agent Zero that you can download. And when a new LLM comes out, it can run a set of benchmarks with that new LLM and assign scores. And these would be real world use cases like download stock prices and I don't know, create a table.
Okay. I feel like I got a good sense of this generally. I want to spend a little time, I think, actually maybe watching the full video. This is like an hour and 7 minute long video. That would be worth kind of digging into. I'm trying to figure out here, like, what advantage would I have to using Agent Zero versus me just using like Claude Code? Because I can define instructions inside of, like, I can have a project folder on my computer define instructions inside of it, and I can run this thing inside of it. And if I want to, I can create a container around it so that way nothing else, it doesn't go in and touch all these different things. I guess maybe if I wanted to have like multiple distinct projects that had certain tools and functionality and things like that, maybe something like that would be interesting. Sorry guys, fixing the music again. Maybe, you know, if I wanted the AI to have access to multiples of those things, that could be useful. But I mean, I feel like I could just spin up a container and I could put all my projects in there. I think maybe for a non-technical person, maybe this is a little bit of an easier lift. From the perspective of being able to pull in projects, like you could pull in different code projects and things like that, and then maybe it's a little easier to do that here than if you know, for me as a technical guy, it's very simple for me to go into like a terminal, like a terminal, and then to run something like Docker run, or do all this and point it to my home folder, and then projects and whatever, like I could do all that stuff. I could list all that stuff out. I could create a single file to basically just spin all that stuff up on the fly. For me, I don't feel like I'm not seeing anything here that's so innovative that I'm just like, wow, I need this. I think I need to go through and I need to watch the whole thing to see if this is actually going to be worth it, because I need to understand some of the depth of this thing and see if it's worth it. Otherwise, if you want maybe it is worth you guys just checking this out. And like if you were playing with OpenClaw and you had some concerns about the security aspect of it, like maybe go give this go check this out. Go to the agent0.ai, agent-0.ai, and go follow their instructions on like how to set this up. So you can click their get started here. Let's see, maybe what other things do they have? They have this memory stuff, which is cool. Task scheduler. You can manage secrets securely. That's pretty nice. I will say that's pretty cool. Because I was thinking about this recently, like what if I want to create an agent to go buy things on my behalf? Can I like store like credit card details securely or something like that, right? Share access safely with teammates. Okay, interesting. You can do extensions. Sounds like they're pushing forward with this plugins functionality. Claude can do plugins already. Like you can share stuff with other people by creating plugins inside of Claude. However, I think maybe the difference between like Claude's plugins and this is going to be like the plugins here are going to probably be interface-based plugins, whereas Claude's plugins are really just like kind of code and like file related, but not necessarily like let me see if I can pull up an example here with Claude. So we can all kind of look at where is Claude? Come on out, Claude. So, oh, maybe I stand corrected here. So here's Claude's interface. Like if you get the Claude desktop out, they have this plugins option literally right there. Ready to use workflows from plugins. Okay, so customize plugins to connect tools, data, best practices that are unique to your company. Yeah, okay, so these plugins aren't necessarily... I mean, they could be interface-based because in Claude, you can create what they call, I believe they call them artifacts. And those artifacts can be like visual artifacts, like let's say, let's do this as an example. I'd like you to get the stock data for Google and well, let's say Microsoft, and visualize the numbers in an artifact. And you know, you might be able to have it, let's get rid of that. You might be able to have this thing. Oh, I'm in co-work mode. Well, I forgot. Okay. Well, you guys are seeing the co-work mode here kind of do its thing. I didn't go into chat mode. I wonder, I'm assuming it'll actually create the artifact. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, maybe you could create a plugin and maybe have Claude help write the code to create the artifact regularly, so that way you don't have to worry about it like being different every single time. And then you can share that plugin with other people on your team. So that might be doable. Well, it's failing to get data right now. It's trying. So we'll see how that kind of comes out here. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like, so that might be a distinguishing factor for Agent Zero is, you know, when people create their plugins, are these going to be like, can you do them as like visual plugins on the system? That might be kind of cool. Let me see what else here. The project thing kind of that might be okay for most people for helping with some of that stuff. They're using the skills standard, which is good. Agent to agent flows. That's kind of cool. Like being able to, it sounds like you can create multiple agents and have them talk with each other. Or you could create specialized sub-agents. You can do that in Claude Code. Task scheduler secrets, prompts. Yeah, so for me as a tech guy, I'm just not seeing a ton of stuff here, and I feel like I need to go watch this video. But again, if you're not a technical person, this will feel technical to you. I will just say that. And so will the OpenClaw, actually. OpenClaw will probably feel kind of technical. If you're going to do something like that, maybe go check out Agent Zero and see how this feels for you. You may have to pay some money for this. You're going to have to pay money for OpenClaw because you got to connect it to the APIs and stuff too. Maybe there's a way for you to use like an existing subscription if you have one. Whether it's like OpenAI's or Google's or Anthropic's. And I would say maybe give this a shot. This sounds like a cool little project for most folks. Like, I think this could be helpful. You know, for me, if I were looking for like a shared interface, there's like this thing called OpenCode. There's this thing called OpenCode. It's the open source AI coding agent. So I could do a lot of the same types of things, I think, that I can do in Claude in here as well. Yeah, so they both, so you can use your ChatGPT. Anthropic recently cut off. You used to be able to use Anthropic's stuff with from your subscription inside of here without having to use the API, but they kind of just killed it, unfortunately. So let's see how this thing is doing. Okay, here we go. So we've got our dashboard. Okay, here we go. So there you go. This is a good example of like Claude, you know, using the co-work mode here. You could have done this also, I guess, in the chat mode. But you can see here, like, it was able to create this artifact based on the data it was able to pull, you know. So show in folder. So it looks like this is, yeah, it looks like this is actually code. So I could probably, looks like I can show this code in the folder. I could probably package this thing up as a plugin, and I bet you I could share this with other people. Here's the actual code for it. It's just JavaScript code. All right, y'all. Well, I think you know, we didn't actually open up the Agent Zero tool. It was mostly just kind of some exploration. You know, maybe we'll actually open the thing up if you guys find it valuable. I see your message here, Dark Prince. I just saw it. Did someone ever tell you look like a tech guy? I bet it's the hoodie thing that I got going on here, right? With the collared shirt under. I guess it fits, right? If the shoe fits, then there you go. If you guys ever find that it would be valuable to walk through something like Agent Zero together, then let me know. I think I want to go. My conclusion from just the brief research is I think it could be really useful as a tool for a lot of people. For me as a tech guy, I'm still kind of up in the air about whether or not I really want to use it. We'll see. I got to go watch that video and find out more. All right, guys. Well, we're going to kind of bring things to a close here for the evening. Before I go, I do just want to let you know that if you enjoyed this evening and you want to get reminders, like email reminders of when we do this, typically we do this on like Tuesday evenings at the moment, around 6 o'clock Central Time, every Tuesday. If you want to get reminders in your email, though, we typically send those out about 24 hours beforehand and also 10 minutes beforehand. So if you want to get those, I'm going to go ahead and drop the chat message there with the link to that. So you guys can sign up for that if that is something that'll be useful to you. Otherwise, we're just going to, I think, wrap it up here for the evening. We went a little later than normal, but thank you guys for coming. I hope it was really helpful to you. If you got any recommendations for things that you would like me to look into as far as tools that you'd like to explore together, drop those in the chat. I'll see them at some point, and you can also message me directly. I love suggestions from people because I really want to make this a session that's super helpful for folks. I want to answer questions that people have. Like this live stream is meant as to be my way to kind of give back to folks in a free way. I'm so busy doing all sorts of other things right now. I'm working as a CTO and at a startup, and that takes up a ton of my time. So I just don't have a lot of capacity to be able to do tons of one-off stuff. I try to help folks if they send me a message or something, but this is the time that I set aside to do this every week. So if you need some help, like you've got questions about automation AI, you got a question about a certain tool, you want to explore it, anything like that, please just let me know. Drop it in the chat. I would love to answer your questions. I would love to go over whatever tools are particularly on your mind. That's just what I'm here to do during this live stream. So, all right, guys, thank you again for coming. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday evening and a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. As always, take it easy. Bye-bye.